Why should we pay attention to the Hogan's Alley block in the Northeast Falls Creek plan? Let's explore it today. But where is Hogan's Alley? After much investigation and research, some information was found from the 2014 Authenticity webpage of Vancouver Archives. Hogan's Alley is just a colloquial name? A short lane between Union and Prior Streets from Main Street to Jackson. So I said to myself, here's the location where Hogan's Alley is used to be located. From Vancouver Public Library's Vancouver History webpage, the locations of Hogan's Alley and Park Lane has been sketched out in a diagram. The location of Hogan's Alley on these two web pages has been used by mass media and social media for the past decade or more. Remember the location of Park Lane and Station Street. We would come back to this later. In the spring of 2021, a map was created using the Vancouver Public Library's diagram with archived photos of the city block as bearing to signify the direction and location. But an 1898 vintage map in Hogan's Alley rezoning application in June and November of 2021 seized my attention, so I researched again about the location of Hogan's Alley. From the public document of City Vancouver, located in the Northeast Falls Creek Sub-Area 6D, District Lot 196, Block 21, Hogan's Alley Working Group Workshop Report in July 2017 by Perkins and Will. The report stated that the name of Hogan's Alley was unofficial. That means that this street did not exist. Shocking as it was to me that the vintage 1898 map on page 9 of the report had inaccurate annotations. Here is that actual map. On the map on page 9 of the report, the street name of DuPont Street, which is East Pender Street at present, was covered with a line and labeled it as Kiefer Street. At that time, west side of Westminster Avenue 800 and 900 blocks were the premises of BC Electric Rail Company. As such, the location of Hogan's Alley was moved up one block, emphasizing the location and exaggeration of the size of Hogan's Alley. Enlarged is the vintage map. Here was the beginning of Vancouver Chinatown, and the word DuPont is clearly visible. Falls Creek Flat before the landfill, at the edge of the water, was at the end of Carroll Street and Columbia Street. No wonder Chinatown was called the Saltwater City in the old days. Back then, part of the Westminster Avenue was between the water. At present, Main Street. Thanks to the archive staff for all the labels. Here's from 7th Avenue looking down Westminster Avenue, that's Main Street, and New Road, Kingsway, in 1890. The news clippings stated the paths from which New Westminster rushed the aids from Kingsway to Main Street at that time. Here's Main Street 800 block east side, before the demolition to build the viaduct, the sub-area 60 of Northeast Falls Creek Plan. Its official name, City District Lot 196 Block 21, originally covers Main Street 800 to 850, Union Street 218 to 278, and Prior Street 219 to 259. The colored boxes had premises on it, while the white ones were vacant land lots. This area claims to be the former location of Hogan's Alley. Social media from the past decade keeps using these photos from this block as the photos of Hogan's Alley. From the top left corner was Union Street 208 to 214, the side of Main Street 800 to 804, then Union Street 218, Union Street 232 to 240, Union Street 248 to 250, Union Street 264, below is Union Street 268, and the east side of 278 Union's premises, which was the back lane of Gore Street 809. On the left side, back to Main Street 818 to 826, Main Street 828 to 832, Main Street 850 is a vacant lot used for parking and a billboard. At the lower left corner, came to the corner of Main Street and Prior Street, 219 to 221, north of Prior. Next was Prior Street 237, Prior 249, Prior 251, Prior 255, and finally Prior Street 259, Chinese property. In a separate video about this city block, the streetscape and property of this area between 1968 to 1972 would be examined. From there, you might get an idea about how the social media has used irrelevant photos of the image of Hogan's Alley. After browsing all these pictures, I wondered, where is Hogan's Alley? Recalling the Northeast Falls Creek Sub-Area 6D workshop report, in order to verify the information and find the location of Hogan's Alley, I went through the files in Vancouver archives again. Here's page 12 to 13 from the report. Top left photo, a 6-story building labeled as BCER's men's quarters. But the file information of LGN 948 from Vancouver Archives stated it was BCER headquarters in construction. On the left-hand side is the clipping from Henderson's Great Vancouver City Directory. From 1911 to 1915, Henderson's listed the west side of Westminster 800 block being BC Electric Rail shops, and 901 to 3 was BC Electric Railway's warehouse. Not only was the building too grand to be a men's quarters, Henderson's listings show BCER used the premises as their depot office later on. Next to it, a few Main Street photos we had browsed earlier, the backlane photos of Union and Prior Streets on page 13. Only those shabby photos among the others were used. There was no trace of Hogan's Alley. On page 14 of the report, between London Hotel on Main Street 700 block and London Drugs on Main Street 800 block, there was only a modern barber shop. Directory listings of 700 to 850 Main Street in 1949, the 24 records of the shop were trimmed down to 9. So, was the information inaccurate? Here's the listings from 1949 Henderson's Great Vancouver and New Westminster City Directory for Main Street 800 block, Union and Prior Streets 200 block, Park Lane, Station Street, Canton Alley, and Shanghai Alley were all listed in the Vancouver City Directory. According to the diagram from Vancouver Public Library, the T-shaped Hogan's Alley was made up with Park Lane as the head of the T. Let's see the location of Park Lane. Don't confuse it with the one in Stanley Park next to the Park Board. From the Street Names of Vancouver published by Vancouver Historical Society in 1999, Park Lane was a short street between Prior Street and the north shore of False Creek and parallel to the east of Main Street. Therefore, Hogan's Alley couldn't be at the Main Street 800 block east side. Here's a map from 1889 showing the location of Park Avenue. The blue line marked the waterfront. The reverse L-shaped Park Lane ran parallel to Westminster Avenue and perpendicular to Prior Street. Let's check again the 1898 vintage map for Park Lane's location. This is another map from 1912 in a different perspective. The small print stated Park Lane to be 100 feet wide by taking 60 feet from lots on east side in Block 25. This is cropped from 1912 December Goats Atlas of Vancouver Volume 2, Plate 71. 1912 newspaper reported about the plan of landfill in the Great Northern Railway development for False Creek Yards, and Park Lane was clearly shown on the development blueprint. This is taken from The Province, Vancouver, BC, page 29, Saturday, May the 4th, 1912. A 1913 photo showing the view from Park Lane looking east. Recently on social media, I read about Major Matthew, the first Vancouver City archivist, first mentioned Hogan's Alley in 1914. After checking the 7 volumes of Early Vancouver by Major Matthew, I only found 3 entries related to Hogan's Alley: 1887, name and location of Park Avenue. 1934, Hogan's Alley not named. 1938, an address in the state mentioned Hogan's Alley. According to 1999 The Street Names of Vancouver, Station Street replaced the name of Park Lane in 1926, but Vancouver City Directory had the listing of Station Street from 1923. This is Station Street in 1917. Station Street in 2022 through Google Maps. Not satisfied with these findings, I searched further through the local newspaper. Here's the coverage from 1896 to 2021. The small peak in the late 1920s was due to the American golf champion Ben Hogan's victory. A golf course for competition was named as Hogan's Alley. Then sporadic coverage from early 1930s, mainly being homicide, robbery, prostitution, and so on. Hogan's Alley was called the breeding ground of crime. In 1939, the court ordered the Department of Building and Sanitation to inspect Hogan's Alley. So the city staff visited Hogan's Alley together with a news reporter, and the location of Hogan's Alley was clearly printed. Runs from Station Street to Gore Avenue along prior streets. It could be a typo because Station Street did not go up to Union Street. 1988 news coverage in Vancouver Sun stated the location of Hogan's Alley in the 1930s was east of Main Street and north of Union Street. After the demolition for building the viaduct in 1970, the first ever mention of Hogan's Alley in the newspaper was in 1973, while Puccini's used Hogan's Alley as their name for their lounge in the basement. Puccini's was an Italian restaurant started in 1915. From the 1970s, 80s to 1990s, all the news coverage of Hogan's Alley was the ads for Puccini's jazz, blues, and soul performances. That was the nightlife of Hogan's Alley. In the middle was the match cover for Puccini's and Hogan's Alley. On the right-hand side, a news clipping from 1988, a fire hall play first mentioning Hogan's Alley's location. That was at the Georgia Viaduct. Ever wonder where is Main Street 730? Here it is, north of Union, east of Main. It is on sale recently. On February 9th, 2021, next to Main Street 800 block east side, 728 to 796 Main Street rezoning application was approved. That means this section is no longer a National Heritage Site, HA1D. The virtual reality photo on the left shows what the building would look like upon completion, same as other buildings in this block. There's no trace of Chinese culture. Here are signs on the south side of the viaduct at Main Street 800 block. In English, welcome to historic Chinatown. In Chinese, welcome to Chinatown. And signs on the north side in Chinese, please come back to Chinatown. In English, leaving historic Chinatown. Tons of times tourists ask me, where is Chinatown? While they are already in Chinatown. Here we should have a monument similar to the Millennium Gate on East Pender Street to indicate the boundary of Chinatown. Instead, we have this mural on the wall facing west from the temporary housing on Union and Gore Streets. These three murals are on the south side of Murren Substation facing Dunsmuir Viaduct. Anyone on the viaduct could see it day in, day out. Interesting, Tibetan Buddhism is not practiced in Chinatown, and Chinatown has never been a religious place. Why paint such a huge Tibetan Buddhist monk in Chinatown? At the northern foot of the Dunsmuir Viaduct facing the Murren Substation, there's a 45 meters long mural about the Black community. After the Murren Substation is decommissioned in 2030, would the premises be converted into a jazz, blues, and soul performance venue? With this propaganda, the incorrect location of Hogan's Alley would become the reality. I wonder whether these mural projects engage the Chinatown community. On the right-hand side is the Main Street 800 block in the northeast Falls Creek plan. You can clearly see the size of the city block. Vancouver's Chinatown has only been included in the discussions of the northeast Falls Creek plan lately. Taught with mass media and social media's constant promotion of Hogan's Alley's incorrect location over the past decade, and the construction of the new St. Paul's Hospital has begun. As a National Heritage Site, Chinatown's future is worth worrying about. Chinatown retailers are looking forward to the northeast Falls Creek developments and the new St. Paul's Hospital, anticipating new clientele will help revitalize their neighborhood. But the building of Hogan's Alley block might disconnect Chinatown. At present, the rezoning application has been submitted, and the Hogan's Alley Society has signed a memorandum with the municipal government. Sub-Area 6D District Lot 196 Block 21 in the redevelopment plan is significant to Chinatown. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Hogan's Alley, an unofficial alley that the newspaper called the breeding bed of crime, a basement lounge in an Italian restaurant, and not in the same area where it claimed to be. The Northeast Falls Creek plan still assigned a sizable block of Hogan's Alley block. This is beyond my comprehension. Let's end here. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you.